You're on mute, Wes.
Here we go.
Yeah, I just texted him to see if he's getting back on.
Yeah.
Ready, set, go.
Coming to you live, it's the Auto Hub Show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, you don't want to be bothered? Fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now. If you click on the link, you can sign up for a webinar. It's live with me and you'll learn the 7 strategies that you need at your dealership in order to see that success.
Hi everyone, this is Paul Brobson, the CEO over at Trusted Sale. And if you don't know Larry Feldman at Career Changers, boy, are you missing out. Now, what are you missing, you might ask? Well, for starters, you're missing the world's best trainer. But seriously, what makes Larry a great trainer is how engaged he keeps his audience. I was at a store recently while Larry was conducting training. And let me tell you, nobody wanted to leave that room. I mean, even when they needed a bio break, they wanted to stick around and hear what Larry had to say. The great late Jim Valvano, who said, to me, there are 3 things everyone should try to do every day. Number 1 is laugh. Number 2 is think. Spend some time in thought every day. And number 3, you should have your emotions move you to tears. If you laugh, think, and cry, that's a heck of a day. Well, I can tell you, Larry's going to make you laugh. He's going to make you think. And yeah, every once in a while, he's going to make you shed a tear or 2. But one thing I can say, it's a heck of a day when Larry comes to visit. But wait, there's more. There is? Yeah. Not only is Larry a great trainer, but he's also one hell of a recruiter. So if you need people in your dealership, and I mean anyone, you need technicians, salespeople, managers, BDC agents, whatever you need, Larry can get you staffed right with the right people and do it fast.
Always to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is, the longer it takes, the more money we spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell, and Service Director at JM Lexus.
And good morning. Here we go. So go ahead, Mr. Jeff, with our.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. We have a good show with an interesting topic today. But first of all, I'd like to welcome 2 people who are new to the show. That's Wes McClellan and Adam Althea from Real Time Feedback. And I'll call on you guys in just a couple of minutes here. But I will do the disclaimer, our infamous disclaimer. And basically the opinions and views of those shared today are those of our guests, not necessarily that of the Auto Hub Show or Ian and Jeff.
And there's
Lastly, of course, as we like to call this, the Larry Feldman disclaimer.
Yeah, and then I had a few books, The Art of Giving, Giving Done Right, and The Paradox of Generosity. So we're talking today about Something Good Show. If you haven't done a search online for, I guess, positive stuff in the car business, there's a huge opportunity to do videos about it. It was a little challenge to find something. But I think car dealers do a lot more good than people give them credit for. If you are going to be at the Used Car Week 2023 in Scottsdale, Jeff and I will be there, and I'll be at SEMA later this month or the next month. So I'll be doing interviews with my wife and Larry, and then we'll all be there at Used Car Week in Scottsdale. So let's get into it, Jeff. Go ahead.
Just before I do the introductions, I saw a video online this morning about a husband trying to find his wife in a supermarket, and he went and he grabbed an inflatable Mylar balloon and pinned it on her back when she didn't know. So if you're looking for Ian, we're going to get somebody to pin in a big balloon on his back at SEMA, because that's about the only way you'll find him. But anyway, thanks all for joining us. Our first guests, well, I will introduce. We'd invited Wes, but got lucky to have Adam as well with him. Wes McClellan, please introduce yourself. And after you finish your introduction, Adam, you're welcome to pipe in. We can dig to you right after Wes. But please answer this question. Tell us something good that we haven't heard recently in the car business and why. But introduction first, please, Wes.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, all. Thank you for having us. So I'm Wes McClellan. I've been in the automotive industry since 1996. So I got in this great business of ours kind of as an accident, probably like a lot of us did. And so after college, I needed an opportunity for employment, was newly married, and a buddy of mine that I went to school with in college said, hey, listen, my dad runs a Pontiac and GMC store. So that's kind of going back a little bit, how long that's been since Pontiac hadn't been around in a while. And got in the used car business and sold used cars, had a fantastic mentor, and basically stayed in it up until about 2017. And so I was a GM for about 17 of those years as well. And then got in the vendor side, and that's where we are today. And that's where we are with real-time feedback. So Adam and I have had an opportunity to work together now for several months, and I'll defer to him to let him share a little information about real-time feedback. But it's a pleasure being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what we do and our passion for automotive and helping dealerships and those folks in the dealer world provide a better customer service and level of customer service for their customers that are looking to buy a car, service a vehicle, or buy parts.
Perfect. So tell us something good we haven't heard recently.
There's a lot of really good conversations that are going on. And of course, obviously coming back from Digital Dealer here last week, we heard a lot of really good things, but the sentiment seems to be just, taking care of customers in a way that they deserve to be taken care of. And so, that's one of the things that we enjoy doing, is having those quality conversations to make sure that folks are getting that VIP treatment.
Terrific. Thank you. Adam.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
You betcha.
Hey, so my name's Adam Alfia. I'm the founder of Real-Time Feedback. Been also in the car business for a long time. I started off, I owned 4 high-end import repair facilities that I started when I was actually in college. Grew those to 4 really large locations here in Texas and sold them in 2005. In 2005, I started a service called Maestro, which was a OnStar type of product that we currently have in 4 manufacturers' vehicles: Nissan, Infiniti, Mitsubishi, and Subaru. You push a button in the car and it comes to our call center here in Dallas. And then in 2017, 18, we started developing the real-time feedback platform. We saw there was a huge disconnect between what customers will tell you face-to-face and what they'll tell you if you ask them digitally. So we developed a real-time feedback platform to get those experiences in real time and allow dealerships to address them in real time before they get splattered all over Google or DealerRater or Yelp, etc. We like to say, give them help before they yelp. So I'm passionate about the customer experience. Love what we're doing. Having, like Wes said, a lot of great conversations with dealerships that don't know how to engage their customers and prevent negative reviews and skyrocket positive reviews. And to your question, something good about the automotive industry, we found that a vast majority of automotive customers are very happy with the dealership that they service their vehicles in, or the dealership that they purchase their vehicles in. And we help those dealerships amplify their voices and let them leave positive reviews on all sorts of social media sites, so people know how happy they are with their dealership.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the comments. We appreciate it. Again, thanks to you and Wes for being the newbies on the show. So it's very nice. Thank you. And next, of course, we have our good friend Brooke Furness from that little teeny tiny hamlet of Chicago. And Brooke, please introduce yourself to anybody that doesn't know you. And maybe you bumped into Wes and Adam at Digital Dealer. They watched your
Hi, Brooke.
your presentation. And then after you're done, tell us something good.
All right, sounds good. I am Brooke Furness. I'm at this point they're just titles like CEO, founder, president, whatever I call it. I'm a light turner offer, garbage taker outer person, a BZ Consultants Group, and our whole goal, the whole reason I started the company, was to help dealers and have dealers give them a voice. And being on both on the dealership side, in the dealership, outside the dealership, I've sat about every chair. We'll just keep this very concise here. I think most people know me that are on here right now. So bottom line, when it comes to anything that we do, is just to inspect what needs to be expected out of the dealership, and whether that's on sales or fixed offsides, and give time back and let them do what they want to do, which is most likely not looking at GA4 or looking at a report or wondering how their marketing is doing or any of that stuff. So we just give that time back to them. As for to answer your question, I'm also the host of a podcast called Fact on Feelings, and I always ask at the end of every show, saying, what do you love most about this industry? And by and large, like I would say, it's probably 95% of the time, the answer is the people. And when you look at all the other things, yes, there's cool technology, there's cool services, there's, insert what everybody else is going to say here, are going to be great attributes to our amazing industry. It comes down to the people, though, because I can go buy a car anywhere. I can go buy, I would say my Jordans anywhere, but there's only a few places to buy my Jordans. But then when it comes to our auto industry, it really is the people and how we set ourselves apart from our competitor, even if that's an independent shop or independent, even if it's like Jiffy Lube or whatever it may be. The people in this industry are incredible. Yes, are there, just like any industry, there are going to be some bad apples? Yeah, of course. But by and large, those amazing people then lead to amazing opportunities. That we're all on this incredible show right now, and it's because of the people.
Perfect. Thank you. It's very funny, over the years, I've hired gobs of people. And anytime I've hired somebody new to the business, you ask them, the usual question, why do you want to do this? Now, it was interesting how Wes said, he said, well, because I kind of needed a job, and a friend of mine said, why don't you try it? But the number one thing people say when you hire them is, I like cars. However, when you get onto this and tell us something good about the industry, nobody's talking about the cars, and that's the central thing. And there's always cool stuff happening. Ian, next question.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before the show today, we were talking a little bit about, I was doing some research on positive videos, but also just thinking about back when I got into business almost 24 years ago now. But I was thinking about it and going, well, one of the big things for a lot of people in the car business, they all seem to, or a large percentage you've had on the show even say, hey, I fell into it because I was looking for something to do. And it's kind of interesting because I feel when talking to my aunt, and my grandfather was in the business as well, she says, you're either someone who's in it for life or you're someone who's in it temporarily. But what I find is a lot of people that were in it, thought they were going to be in it temporarily, end up being in it for a lot longer in one way or another. So that was kind of interesting. But the big thing we were talking about was just sort of the speed to hire, but also, as we've done on the show before, sometimes it's the speed of turnover too. If anyone follows this media and social media, there's an immense number of stories identifying problems or celebrations. What is the actual, what are the actual good going on today? And the reason I bring this up is we've talked a little bit about the WWF belts, you name it, all kinds of stuff about it. But there's just not a lot when you look online, especially on the video side, but also on just sort of the good people are doing today. And I think we miss that because the impact of car dealers is significant in economies all over the world. but also we don't spend enough time talking about that. So Brooke, maybe you can give us your thought on that and why we don't see more of that online and social media, for example.
That's a great question. And that is something that personally with my clients, I have to beg them. I'm like, for the love of all that's holy, please broadcast your community service, because in our industry, once again, we do so much for the community. Yet you look at dealerships and it's like lease special, tire special. I'm like, you're more than a lease special. Like, please put something else on there. Like, talk about all the good you're doing. I mean, I would be with dealerships, they would drop minimum $3,000 a month just on whether it was a cancer research or kids or whatever. I'm like, and then when you ask them about that, going back to the people portion of it and say, why aren't you talking about this? Well, Brooke, I don't want to talk. I don't want to brag about it. I go, I understand that, but you're going to brag about your lease special? Like, there's a little bit of a disconnect here. And there are some really great, like I know we're going to get into later, some incredible dealerships and dealership groups that just do a phenomenal job at this. And it's not just about the community service, but all the other things of how they can help their community. And when I say help the community, people think, oh, I'm going to go serve. You are serving, but it can be something as simple as, and I know we've all dealt with this, is that, okay, I with our audience probably more than us talking, but talk about how you can help them, whether it's here's how to change wiper blades, here's how to change tires, here's how to, and then make it fun for them, engage them, make them feel like they're a part of your business as well. And that's where I see people really, really succeed. And I'm sure Gail can talk to this at length as well, but that is something that's so big. And so when I go back to the question of what I originally started was, why don't they? One of them is they don't want to brag about it. The other big one, which is super frustrating, and I know we're talking about good, but the other reason why it would not be is that they just don't see the value in it. Oh, I don't see the ROI because it didn't give me a sell. Well, that's not what social media is about. You go to learn, you go to be educated, you go to laugh, cry, whatever it may be, but you're going there for that type of reason, which will eventually lead to ROI. But those are the two big ones. They don't see the ROI, and so they're not going to invest in it.
So you mean, Brooke, it's more important to show the salesperson getting the handshake with the wrestling belt over their shoulder. By the way, that's the WWE belt, because the WWF does not like the leather wrestling belt.
Oh, okay.
But it's more important than that than to say how you collected all the toys at Christmas for the kids in the hospital and did that. Sure.
I think it's both. It's 80-20. So you want to be 80% should be to split it up. So you're not doing all selling. Only 20% of your social media should be about selling. Like, that's it. Like, that's a very old school. I won't say old school. That has been the ratio for a very long time. So while those things are fun and it showcases the employees, but do something else. Find out. Go back to like digging deeper about the why of the consumers. Hey, we know Brooke loves shoes. Okay, how many other employees love collecting kicks? Like, if it's overwhelming, why are you guys not doing a Kicks Friday? Like, that's, or showcasing something along those lines, or have Brooke partner up with the local kick shop. Things like that. Like, they all are part of a bigger picture. But if you're only going to do you boasting about something, that's a little different. So I hope that answers your question, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, when you look at, we've had a gentleman from Toronto, is a little bit crazy Greek guy on, doing a lot of stuff with his local community, local restaurants, local things, and even big car sellers in the U.S., including the number one gentleman. He talks a lot about, Ali talks a lot about getting involved in his local community. There's a BMW store where I used to live who just does a lot of community events, and they sponsor those events. And it's really more about the event than the fact that they sell vehicles. And there's also seasonally, when you look at Christmas time, or you look at seasonally feeding people that maybe are challenged. There's a dealer group that I think collects used coats that I've seen, but it's very small percentage of how they promote their business, which I think is a mistake. Like, the lease special is great, but
Ian, let me just jump in for 1 second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a great dealership group in the Western New York area called West Her.
Yeah,
and we all know Matthew Lasher from West Her. And last year, Buffalo got hit with an extreme blizzard. Like, we're talking 10 feet of snow in 24 hours. It was insane. It basically blanketed the whole city. They couldn't move, whatever. A number of people took refuge in a local school in Buffalo. And the school, under stress, lost its boiler, so they had no heat. Well, West Her took their front end loader and cleared a path to the school to get their generator there to help those people. It took them 7 hours to go 1.5 miles to get the generator there with their front end loader. They never put it out on social media. It was only shared by people in the community. And again, it goes back to what Brooke was saying. Sometimes you don't want to brag about helping, but that message should show out in the community so greatly to tell people who you actually are, because with the representation that we have as car dealers, it has to change, and that would change the perception right there.
I agree 100%. I mean, I see stories on the peripheral all the time, but when you do a search on YouTube, and I express that everyone should do this, do a search, something good about the car business, and what you get is a bunch of really negative videos, and that's not good. Like, there should be some examples out there, at least a percentage. But what do you think, Adam or Wes? Who wants to go first? You're both muted, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, so, in regards to, the good that dealerships do, we find that a lot of the service advisors and managers, once we implement our platform, will actually ask customers to go, hey, you're gonna get a text message here in a little bit, tell us about what you like or didn't like about your service, and then they actually take those recommendations and do meetings about things that customers are complaining about. Right now, I think that all dealerships are really struggling with hiring, not only hiring people, but hiring quality people. And that's really translating into failed experiences. But, most customers know about the challenges that all businesses are having. A lot of them are business owners themselves. And as long as you be honest and truthful with those customers and let them know that that the dealership's experiencing labor shortages just like they are, I think they're going to be a lot more sympathetic. But one of the things that that really stands out is communication, and we have hundreds of dealerships on our platform, and the big difference between ones that get a lot of great feedback, positive feedback, versus the ones that tend to have some negative, mostly negative, is communication. That's the number one complaint among our feedback platform is the dealership is not communicating.
And are they sharing that positive? Like, are the dealers sharing that positive when they get it? Like with the larger community?
Sure. A lot of them will have feeds that tie into our feedback platform that will run, all the 4 and 5 star, mostly 5-star comments that customers are leaving and putting it on their website, showing how great it is to deal with that dealership, especially ones that had been dealing with, their parents who dealt with the dealership, and their grandparents sometimes even dealt with that dealership. So it's a long history of loyalty and trust, etc. And I can't remember, I think it was Carl Sewell or somebody said it takes, a long time to build loyalty, and there's, a few minutes to ruin it. So a lot of, especially the newer crop of employees, a lot of times don't put as much weight into loyalty and customer, how long customers are doing business with that entity, and they can screw up a long-term relationship with, in 5 minutes by saying something wrong.
Yeah, and the dealers have seen an uptick when they share those positive or negative, but more importantly, it helps them internally, right?
Oh, for sure.
Because they can then learn from them, hopefully, as well. What do you think, Wes?
That's the biggest thing. Having information is one thing, but taking that information and using it to improve your process is another.
Yeah. Wes, any thoughts?
Well,
thanks, man.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, that's all, and I can tell you, from years of experience, it's all about people and processes internally, right? So you want to make sure that, you've got the right folks in the right positions. It's kind of like, as the football analogy, you've got a defensive end trying to play quarterback. That's always not the best thing to do, right? So, kind of getting back to, the way that those conversations are happening internally. It's not always about a survey. It's not about sending out a survey, because that's not what we do. Essentially, we're actually having real conversations, just as we're doing right now, about allowing customers to be able to utilize technology by simply scanning a QR code strategically placed in the dealership. So, if I'm a customer and I was promised an oil change hey, Wes, it's only we'll be, an hour, hour and a half. Hey, no problem. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy a cup of coffee, have some conversations here at the dealership. And, I look forward to seeing my car here shortly. 3 hours go by and I haven't had any communication or level of conversation from anyone from management at the dealership. That's where I can then scan a QR code to get some help to say, hey, what's the status? You told me, an hour and a half for an oil change. It's been 3 hours. That's where the dealership can then, from a management side of things, can step in and communicate directly with the customer with our feedback platform. And so those are things that we look at and, to better serve the customer to make sure that they're having a positive experience. And it's a training exercise internally as well for that team. So whether it's an advisor or whether it's someone on the sales side, whatever that looks like, again, it's making sure that you're following certain processes to engage with those customers that are, trusting you to take care of their vehicle or whatever that might look like. And then kind of going back to the community side of things, building trust and building that positive reputation, just by simply demonstrating a commitment to, that you're more than just a profitable company. I mean, you want to be able to build trust with customers that are going to ultimately support their business, but also you want to give back to the community. So, to Brooke's point, why not showcase that? There's multiple ways to do that. So just make sure, don't be shy. Make sure you're putting that out there. And you're going to get back in return, tenfold.
Well, that's great thoughts.
Hey guys, Ian, I had 2 comments.
All right, go ahead, Larry.
First of all, in this spirit, I'd like to applaud Ian and Jeff, who have worked with the mentally ill and the personage of Larry Feldman for last year. God bless both of you. Certainly an ordeal. Second, you fellows made a comment about it's interesting how Mother Teresa couldn't get a 10-10. And let me explain something to you. Mother Teresa was noted, even though she was truly a saint on earth, had doubts. She truly doubted and had crisis of faith. You don't see that with dealers. Dealers are sitting back and going, look at all the money we made. We're invincible. We're invulnerable. Nothing can hurt us. Why should we bother trying to fix things now when everything's perfect? So the hubris and the lack of humility on dealers is the exact opposite of Mother Teresa, who was able to accomplish what she did because she was always questioning whether she's doing enough. And by the way, Ian and Jeff, I think it's time for one of my bed refills. Just mentioning it.
Thanks, Matt. Larry. Jeff?
We mentioned about people like West Hare and the dealer in California that Joe mentioned on that. And the thing is that I'm noticing, there is our friend Don Brady talks about his satellite office being Starbucks. And the reason that people go to Starbucks instead of Dunkin' Donuts, which lots of people do, or Tim Hortons here in Canada or whatever, is, their coffee isn't that great, etc. But every Starbucks, out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of Starbucks, minus a few, you walk up and some person's going, hi, welcome, how are you? What can I get for you today? And I asked them, and I said, why is that? They all get minimum wage. And they said, because they treat us well, they give them health insurance, which is a way bigger deal in the States and Canada, but it's still a big deal. And they treat them properly. So other than the people that stand out in our show, we talked about Sewell in Texas, et cetera, please identify a dealer or dealer group that gets it in business and people, not just gets it by, hey, look at the wrestling belt, or here's the hospital named after, don't mention me and you're not allowed. Look at the great big things we do. But please name somebody that stands out as just plain simply getting it. So if a customer walks in, they actually feel that these people really enjoy it. So Wes, I'm going to ask you that.
I've had the privilege of working with dealers around the country for several years now, and especially, some groups, but I can identify the first one that came to my mind from a group standpoint is Barnes Crossing. And I will tell you, from a marketing marketing perspective and how they do things, as well as just being able to take care of their customers the way that they deserve to be treated. There's not a single store that Barnes Crossing, and I think they've got a total of 17 locations from Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. I think their main store is their Hyundai store in Tupelo, Mississippi. And I'll just tell you that the way that they communicate and the way that they service their customers is one of those examples of being able to do things the right way. I mean, people buy cars from people, right? So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're taking care of that person the way that you'd want to be treated and taken care of.
100%.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Brooke.
Yeah, that's another great question. I love this. So Nathaniel Greklick is with Mohawk, and Mohawk does an incredible job when it comes to social. They understand that, one, you don't just hire one person to do digital marketing, BDC, technology, IT, do social media. Like, they have an entire team. So if you're anyone that's ever looking like, hey, I need some ideas, or who should I go look at them. They do a phenomenal job, and it's so much based on the community, the community themselves, also their employees. Of, hey, let's do talk about the good reviews. Let's do, like, if anyone has not seen them do a license plate challenge to see it, and just bring in random people, like, hey, anyone can do it, and see how quickly they can change the license plate. Like, making things fun and understanding that it's not, going back to my original statement, we get so focused on the freaking ROI that, it didn't sell a car. Okay, well, let's talk about it for a second. Like, that group in particular, Beaver Toyota is another one that's a great job. They understand that, hey, we're making the brand awareness to know that when I'm ready to buy a car, when I'm ready to service my car, when I'm ready to buy tires, when I'm ready to do whatever the hell it is I'm going to do, they're top of mind. And that's the ROI you get on it, not the, it didn't sell me a car. Well, I'm sorry, no shit, it didn't sell you a car, because that's not what it's about. I don't go and scroll and do doom scrolling to buy something. It's because I'm probably bored out of my mind, which doesn't happen too often. But there's a reason why you're going to social media. And if both of those stores, both those groups get it, and they invest in their people so that they can continue what they're already doing. I mean, they've got another one, Brian Ortega at Valley High. I mean, he does a phenomenal job just making it fun, and sometimes making fun of our industry. Like, so those are three really good examples that I always have people turn to when they're looking for stuff.
That's a very interesting point you made about ROI and selling cars, etc. And this particular BMW deal that Ian mentioned, they do a lot of stuff. But to sell cars, the dealer principal used to go to all the fancy schmancy events in the city, all the galas, the black tie, the hobnob stuff. And he would sell, in the old days when they were only doing, 150 a month new, he'd sell 30 himself by just rubbing elbows with the fancy people. Now that sold cars. That got an ROI. And the $5,000 he donated to the whatever cause to go to that dinner got him way back more in spades. However, what it got him even more was a reputation as somebody that was involved with the community. And literally, when I left Vancouver and went to Edmonton a long time ago, and then came back a few years later, more BMWs are sold in Edmonton by him in Vancouver. And Edmonton, for those you don't know, is further away than Dallas is from Houston or whatever. It's enough of a distance, but we sold more cars here because of that whole idea. But Adam, I'm going to ask your opinion on that, because you guys, of course, in the business of building emotional ROI for dealers. What do you think? Somebody that really gets it.
Yeah, dealerships are always. I can't imagine ever finding a dealership that says, "Oh, we really don't care about our customers." But a lot of times their actions really say otherwise. When you have, I'm going to go back to poor communication, where the dealership really, one of the things we always ask our dealerships before we launch them is, do you really want to know? Because you're going to see some ugly stuff that you've never seen before, that people are going to be honest, brutally honest. Our system allows customers to submit stuff anonymously. And those are the ones that really come through really, really, bad for the dealership. But, they have to accept those things. It's like, kind of like somebody telling you that you're ugly, or when your doctor tells you, hey, you need to lose some weight, or whatever it is. People have a hard time, especially the GMs or the owner that has a hard time accepting that type of criticism. And then you have to do something about it. You can't continue to pacify each customer as they complain by promising something or apologizing. You have to fix the root issue. And a lot of dealerships have a really, I want to say like a type of instant shock when we launch them about the things that are coming through our platform. And customers, when you ask customers, hey, what do you think? And they're brutally honest with you, sometimes it's hard for them to accept that truth. But that's just the nature of the beast. You're in an industry that, when I was in auto repair for many, many years, auto repair probably gets, as far as trusting the mechanic, probably gets the most, you ask the general public, what professions do you least trust? And auto repair mechanics are probably at the top of the list there. That and maybe attorneys, but and you have to overcome that stigma. And unfortunately, it's an industry that's very profitable sometimes, but also on the same time, you're always battling unhappy customers. No matter, there are customers out there. I always say the customer isn't always right. Sometimes they're a bleep hole. So, but you have to take care of those customers no matter what. And our platform allows, customers to maybe engage with that dealership and at least pacify them in the short term. But a dealership's not going to last in the long term if it doesn't do something about the core issues that they're learning about.
Agreed. I just wanted to jump in there for 1 second.
Yeah.
We could all agree that we, in the car business, the actual formula for success is long-term customer value. We can't look at a one and done customer relationship because it's just not profitable. So in looking at that, we could probably go to one of the best in long-term customer values is Sewell Group in Dallas, and Carl Sewell with Customers for Life. Just the little bits, and as we look at what Wes said, sitting in the waiting room and seeing how you're treated and everything else, these are the little aspects that make dealerships great and the experience level elevate. But I wanted to bring up Carl Sewell because they are fantastic.
Yeah, actually, I've met Carl several times. We're here in Dallas.
Yeah. And
we had, when we launched Infinity Personal Assistant, one of their flagship stores is an Infinity dealership. Yeah, there you go. So he actually came to our call center several times, and he listened in on how we train in some of our training calls and how we train our agents to be never use negative words when answering the phone. Everything is of course and absolutely and stuff like that. And we gave him a copy of our training manual for our agents because, at the end of the day, you can hear somebody smiling over the phone, and that's what we teach all of our agents. We always told them that they're on stage when they answer the phone because we're representing big brands. And he was a big fan of our platform. We had Sewell Personal Assistant for a long time in their group of dealerships.
I love how he looks at things in the smallest things. If it's a small thing, he just gives it away. You need your tire changed, no problem. We'll send the mobile service. We'll make sure you're on your way and make you happy. It's a phenomenal thought process.
Thanks.
What's interesting, Carl Sewell's brilliant. There is no question. But what's crazy, flip it, is how dumb most people are, not just car dealers, and how little a smile costs you. How easy it is to just make people's day just by being friendly and being kind. And you don't have to look at it as being spiritual. Just look at it as being smart financially. Making people feel good and comfortable and welcoming costs you nothing. On the other hand, it costs you a fortune when you're cranky. I just went through, if I'm a little overhyped, I went to a big teaching seminar this week and last, and I beat everybody to death with it. If you don't smile, the rest of it doesn't matter. Because if in the first 30 seconds you don't make a positive impression, you're done. We think we got all day to screw around with it. They've already said, you know what, let me get all the information from this moron and find somebody that actually knows how to smile.
Exactly. I mean, when you're looking at it, and I know that Adam and his team and Brooke and his team and everyone else, what after a dealer gets some negative feedback, I'm sure Adam and Wes can talk to this. What's the next step in their mind? Like what do they look at as fixing that? Like how do you help them through that maybe beat up session? Like how does that, what does that look like for your dealer that maybe wasn't aware or just didn't hear it that bluntly?
Well, we do recap sessions monthly with all of our dealerships. We actually have AI integrated into the platform. So we just launched about 2 months ago because we found that it's a real brain drain and a downer to sit there and respond to 5 or 6 negative feedbacks every morning that came in overnight or during the day. So we built AI in there and we taught the AI to pretend that it's a manager of a auto dealership and they're receiving feedback, and to be empathetic and apologetic and address the issues that they came up. So it writes, you just click on generate recommended AI response. It doesn't automatically send it. And then it really writes a really well-written apology. And then of course the manager can change it up a little bit, maybe throw in an offer for a discount next time, etc. So that's really helped with the brain drain of responding to, if somebody wants to respond to negative reviews or feedback, it's upsetting.
Right.
So this takes some of that out of it. And then we also took the AI and we trained it to, at the end of every month, to not only accumulate all the positive and negative into 2 separate reports, but for the negative ones to recommend areas of improvement. And it writes a really, really analytical response to saying, hey, you're really having a lot of complaints about your, somebody in the dealership telling them, oh, it'll be 45 minutes to an hour for an oil change and tire rotation, and it's 3 hours. So it helps pinpoint the areas of improvement. And usually it's things that they maybe didn't know about, some things they do know about, but you have to take actions and steps. Hey guys, receptionists, stop telling people 45 minutes to an hour for an oil change, because they don't see the reality of a customer who says, okay, I'll schedule an hour and a half to be there, and they're for 3 hours, because it ruins their day. And while I'm on the phone with whoever they're talking to, and we always tell them this, it's not just that customer. Every phone call that person gets, and somebody goes, hey, what are you doing? He goes, yeah, I'm sitting here at the dealership. They told me an hour and a half for my oil change has been 3 hours. Oh, really? What dealership? So now every person that they're talking to, it's negative about your dealership. So just be cognizant of that. Tell them it'll be 2.5, 3 hours. Let them plan for it rather than upsetting every customer that's in there. Everybody's looking at their watch sitting in the waiting room because they were all told the same thing.
Yeah,
and that's a net result of how upper management relates to people with them and below them, because everybody on this program is smart enough to know we usually get mixed messages. When I got in the car business, the Saturday morning meeting was akin to physical torture. They beat you to death, they cursed you out, and then when you were one cell paramecium, they'd say, go out and sell some cars. So if you are not, Adam, I just met you. It's a pleasure. And I told this story on the show before, so forgive me, but it burned into my conscience. I'm starting at a dealership and the GM is leaving. And the operator says, boss, you have a call. And he says, tell him I left. And I always thought, what a moron. First of all, he said it nice and loud so a bunch of salespeople could hear. And I always thought, what if it's a guy that wants to buy 3 cars? He's going to say, the hell with it, I'll go somewhere else. I got money. What if it's somebody with a small problem that could be fixed instantly, and instead it simmers overnight? So it's really a matter of all that. And by the way, you sound like you absolutely know what you're talking about. I'm famous for not knowing what I'm talking about. But while AI is an unbelievably useful tool, I'm always wary of the fact that the more it becomes robotic and the less it becomes human, the scarier it gets without keeping an eye on it. Because the one thing we can't teach computers to do is empathize. To say, man, that sucks, that happened to me, let me help you out. That's all. I have to
Larry,
that in.
Brooks, I just got a.
Wow, I
Didn't hear
lost
what
you there.
just said. I'm sure it was very, very poignant though.
I just said Brooks AI assistant just got offended.
Yeah, it knows not to. Like I totally forgot it was like joining. I was like, oh crap. Yeah. I want to take this a little different way. Like to Larry's point, yes. Like I have actually seen, and when you put the guardrails on AI, it's different than when it's open. But I've actually seen where the AI is responding to a very frustrated consumer, and the AI, after multiple like back and forth on freaking Google, we're talking about, the AI just goes, I'm sorry, I'm not human. I was like, what? This if someone tells you they're not using AI, honestly, they're full of shit. They're using AI, they just might not be public facing. So once you get to the point that you can have the guardrails in place and know that, I mean, I have more stories of people having AI, and you all know that at this point, like I use AI all the time, but it's public facing and how it just, from a legal standpoint, got real bad real quickly. But the way I wanted to take this was, we're talking about how we respond, and yes, how we respond online is very key. I would take it a step further as, what are we doing in the house to actually fix the core issue? Because we all know that there are a lot of companies, it's just not in our industry, where, hey, for me, it's got to be really, really bad for me to post a bad review. Like, I have tried every other avenue before I ever got to the point that, like, okay, I apparently have to blast you to get you some type of responding back to me. And then at that point, what are they doing in the house? Are you just saying, well, that's great, that's fantastic, we're still selling, 10 G's, out every single car, we don't really care? Or are you fixing the core issue? Or are we going back to, I'll just pay them off, yeah, they'll go away. If we just give them something free, then we've trained them that they can just sit there and blast us, but we'll give them something for free, and on the hopes that they take down the review. Why not just fix the core issue? Call me crazy, that seems a little bit more viable and probably a lot more financially sound to fix the issue. And I've had a restaurant, and the valet took our car. Okay, we get a parking ticket. We didn't park the car. We're in Chicago. It's like $30 to park a damn car. So not only that, then the parking ticket comes, and it's like $200. And I go, and we didn't do it. It took so much back and forth of this restaurant, which is a very, very nice restaurant. We'll suffice to say, it's a very nice restaurant. And we go, seriously, what the hell are you doing? Like, how can you do this and then expect us to pay the $30 plus the $200? And they finally like, okay, I guess we'll pay for it. I'm like, you guess? We'll give you a free gift card. I'm like, I don't want a free gift card. What I want is for you, I didn't do this just because I've reached out 10 different ways to try to get this resolved. And now I'm getting a second notification about a parking ticket. So take that in the car industry is, what are we doing? Whether it's a reputation review, whether that's, we did a survey to show we're the best dealership in the freaking world, but it's all really made up because you paid for that review and you're never going to fix anything in house. The same thing goes with exit survey, but that's the way I want to take that, just because it drives me bonkers when we do this and just continue to think, oh, we'll just sweep it on the rug and it will just magically get better because we put some pixie dust on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And no AI on earth can curse and still be as charming as Brooke Furness. I want that on the record.
I haven't dropped the F-bomb. You should be very proud of me right now.
But was the meal good is the question.
Actually, no, it wasn't. I just bought a brand new shirt. They dropped water on me. They dropped coffee on me. My shirt, I was ruined. The food was horrible.
Hey, Brooke, I'm not making this up. It was on this very show, the Auto Hub show. Do you remember, Jeff and Ian, when you had the very nice lady from Florida and her daughter was visiting and her air conditioning blew up?
It was actually,
instead of the human being saying, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, it's so hot today, it's the summer, we're right on it. The computer pitched out, we couldn't find anything wrong. And they went ballistic. So it still comes back to, let's use every tool we have in our toolbox. But if we don't tie it in with human beings, we're sunk.
Yeah, I think you got to leverage what you can, and there's no perfect answer. But at the end of the day, it's listening to the customer. But I think the thing that's really interesting about Adam and Wes's solution is at least they're giving that sales manager, who may or may not be good at something, basically saying, okay, this is what we'd recommend. So at least they have a game plan versus just winging it, right?
Ian, I'm not being a smart aleck, and I swear to God, I love these two guys in their program, but who the hell is reviewing? If you have the greatest program on earth and you put it in front of somebody, who's actually looking? If the dealer, if the GM says, gosh, this is great input, let me look at it, let me talk to these people nicely. But where does it go after they've entered the report? Because I owned a dealership and there was so much junk that didn't get to me. And I was like, why the hell did you show it to me? So I like everything else, it funnels back to, you've got the data, how are you using the data, and what are the results you've derived from that? Sorry about that, Adam. That's as technical as I.
Well, maybe that's a good question for Wes to answer. Like, when the dealer gets that data, what does that do?
You're absolutely right. And I will just tell you, when we're having conversations about partnering up with our dealers, that's one of the first things that we bring up is that I need to understand what your current process is. Obviously, if it's, if you're failing on Google and other reputation sites, and then things that you can't measure internally that they're having difficulties with is, do you have a service BDC? How are you communicating currently with your customers at this time? And as a former GM, I mean, I went through and responded personally to every single review, whether it was bad or good. And that's one of the things that you're measured on different, reputation channels and review sites as well, is that, are you an authority? Do you care about your customers? But one of the first questions that I ask is, how are you set up to communicate with your customers as it is right now? Because our platform is designed to where you have to have that human element. There's nothing automated about it. There's nothing, AI is just is a luxury to be able to offer, as Brooke said. You put the guardrails on it to be able to utilize AI to lessen the brain damage on how should I respond, right? Especially to a negative review. Positive reviews are easy. You can always thank, there's a million different ways to thank someone, but it's where you have to get creative to be able to respond accordingly. And that's where we come in to say, hey, listen, are you ready to take on this responsibility to communicate effectively with customers, not only on the sales side of the service side? I mean, look at the lifetime value estimate for one customer. I mean, in service, it could be $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 or more, not to mention purchasing vehicles and, buying parts, as it goes. But that's the one thing that we ask, or one of the main questions that we ask is, how are you situated in regards to responding and having those conversations with customers on the management side, as well as your team, whether it's a service sales BDC? You've got to be able to bring in that human element to be able to communicate effectively with those customers, make sure that those questions and those concerns that a customer may have are being responded to immediately.
That's great thoughts. Jeff, we're running out of time, so maybe some words of wisdom. Go ahead, Mr. Jeff.
Well, we'll ask everybody to give a little words of wisdom. I want to share one thing. Adam brought this up quite a while ago. He talked about admitting a mistake. And I had a dealer principal, I'll never forget this, a long time ago. And he sat down with me and he said, Jeff, because what he would do is we'd sit down and we'd say, this isn't good because I don't think we're doing this or that. And be, well, the reason we can't do this is because it isn't me. And I didn't say those words, but I might as well have. And he just said, Jeff, if somebody's giving you criticism, take a look at if anything of what they have to say is true, admit your part of it so everybody can move on. We spend so much time defending the indefensible. If somebody's car isn't ready in the hour and a half that you told them it would be, that Wes mentioned, or Adam, and rather than saying, well, gee, you know what, it was because your car had dirt on it or whatever it is, you come up and say, I'm really sorry, we screwed up. It's whatever it is, your oil change is free. They're going to leave and come back. I had a circumstance that happened to me getting an oil change on my wife's car. And I went to one of those independent oil change places because I couldn't get out to my guy to do it. The oil filter literally failed and leaked oil everywhere. They picked up the car. They towed the car back to the shop. They went through the whole car. They first of all checked for their mistakes, and then they found it was a failure of the oil filter. They redid everything, no charge, cleaned the car, gave us a free car wash on top of that, and we're done. And there was no argument, and I will never forget that. Yet in the car business, we tend to make a mistake with that. And so truly, all we got to do, truly, I think, in my opinion, to be really good at what we do, because everybody screws up. What do you do about your screw up, Wes?
I always say, do what you say you're going to do, right? And so the way that I look at it is just kind of a brief word of wisdom, and I learned this a long time ago, is ultimately success in the car business is not just from selling vehicles or servicing vehicles, but from building relationships. I think, offering the exceptional service and being able to adapt to change with the innovation that we're offered these days, that's key. So at the end of the day, I mean, we have a little motto internally: your customers want to tell you something. Are you ready to listen and respond? And so just keep that in mind.
Terrific. Thank you. Adam?
Yeah, so, sort of like what Wes said is, take care of issues quickly. If you wait, our system actually shows how fast somebody responded to a customer. It tracks all that and gives you an average of where your average time to respond is. And it's amazing to me that sometimes dealerships will let an issue fester for a day or two when the customer, because one of the things that our platform does is allow the customer to say, hey, what was wrong with your experience? Because we hit every single customer as soon as they pay for their RO with a text message with a link to review that experience, or when a deal's closed in the sales department. And when you ask customers, how do we do? And it was negative, and you're telling them this is going straight to a manager who will respond, and they don't, and they wait a day or two, that makes it even worse than asking at all. So we always tell them, make sure you're on top of these. And even if you just say, hey, I'm really, really sorry, let me look into it and give me about 24 to 48 hours and I'll get back to you, that at least pacifies them in the meantime. But if they hear, every minute that goes by seems like 10 minutes, and every hour that goes by seems like a day, when somebody's sending you something and they're waiting for a response and nobody says anything. So, make sure that as soon as you hear about a negative experience, I know it's a pain in the ass, but jump on top of it and at least respond with something. Hey, I got it. Let me check into it.
Perfect.
Great thoughts.
And something too, which I'm sure you'll agree with, is how often does somebody get a response to a positive feedback?
Yeah, so our systems already has that. So as soon as somebody sends something positive, we already uploaded 50 different ways of saying thank you. Just to say, hey, thank you for your positive experience. Thanks for your 5-star review. We can't wait to see you again. And our system automatically does that on its own.
Love it,
Fantastic.
love it. Brooke?
Keep it really brief here. It doesn't matter what position you are. I think it's probably more important at a manager leader level. Check your freaking ego. I mean, you want to improve.
100%.
Great. How are you going to do that? If you just think paying for things is going to do that, that's not going to work. You're getting ghosted on your people trying to hire. Go to Glassdoor. Go see what you look like on Glassdoor. Because if we don't check our ego, once again, especially as an owner, whatever the C-suite, I'm not big on titles, but whatever the C-suite level that you're in at this point, if you cannot take, I'll say it's criticism, but it's constructive criticism because there's truth in it. So what are you going to do to fix it? Or just, I don't really care. I am the owner. I'm the GM. I'm the whatever the heck it is. How do you expect anyone to ever improve? Because now that arrogancy is filtering on down to the people you hire. Then those people are then going to put that arrogancy into the consumer. So at the end of the day, is just check your freaking ego and be able to work on yourself, your business, whatever it may be, to improve everyone, because it really will. You want ROI. That's the ROI right there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's it for me. I'll turn it over to Ian, except for one thing to go on Peter's McDonald's statement he made. The number one way to sell more stuff. Would you like fries with that?
Thanks very much. Have yourself a great day, and I look forward to seeing everyone at SEMA and Used Car Week Scottsdale. Bye for now. Thanks very much.
Thank you for being here.
Good dinner, everyone.
Bye.
Oh la la. What?
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.